So the production coordinator, as I said, normally takes care on our show of people and whatever you might need people-wise. And that might be somebody needs a masseuse to come to set for an actor who's hurt their back. And so we will find the masseuse, we will send them to set. We'll coordinate with the assistant directors to make sure that we've got a trailer set up, and they'll hook up with the transport to get a trailer to do this. So it's all of this communication all of the time. And that's with, we're always working with telephones going off and our personal emails and our work emails and our cell phones, text messaging back and forth to people on set, or phone calls on our cell phones. So, and set radios, of course. We've got a set radio in the production office and that's going off. So we can always tell what's happening on set and listening in on them. And if they call us on set, we can always answer on the radio. So there's lots of things going on all the time, looking for our attention. And as I said, just trying to help them on set do their job. So we move into the first assistant, and the first assistant is basically all things. So instead of the production coordinator being all people, the first assistant is doing things. And that means we're helping the grip department, the electric department, the camera department, rent equipment that they need for the show or for the day. And we're helping in between those guys and the rental houses to organize to get the equipment there and rent it and help pay for it. Be it pay for it, I mean, we're doing purchase orders. And all of our departments are all doing purchase orders. And that's basically talking with accounting and putting a piece of paper in with accounting to say that we are going to rent this equipment. It's going to cost this much. We're going to rent it for this amount of time. And please hold the money for that. So we're constantly doing these purchase orders for things that we are spending money on, i.e. the equipment, or traveling actors down from the US, paying for car service to pick them up, paying for hotels. All of that stuff is done by purchase order, and then accounting will get the bill and then pay for that. So to go back to the first assistant, taking care of all things, equipment rentals. There's a thing called expendables, and all of the departments are basically using things like tape and glue and rope. There's so many things, batteries, just anything you can think of. There's just tons of things coming through all the time. And they're calling the production office going, I need 3 rolls of tape and 6 batteries of this type, and so on and so forth. We then contact those vendors, ask for this stuff, and get it and send it back out to set so that they can keep working. In between that time, the first assistant is working on a thing called the production report. And the production report is a report done by the assistant directors, which you'll probably hear about later from your first AD. They do the production report information gathering on set. They grab all of this information, send it to the production office in a great big folder, and the first assistant takes this sheet called the daily production report and starts filling in all of these pieces that basically says what exactly happened on set yesterday, because we're always a day behind doing the daily production report. We're always doing yesterdays. So what happened yesterday on set? How much film did they use, or how much tape did they use? How much footage did they shoot? Did they get all of their scenes for the day? All the way down to what time was the third grip lunchtime? So everything is on there. Was there an accident? Or everything is on this page. And it's a legal document, and it has to be done perfectly. It has to be done perfectly every day. So that's a big part of the day for the first assistant, is doing this production report, because there's a lot of information coming on there. So then we're also, the first assistant's also taking care of a thing called loss and damage. and that's whenever something breaks on set, they send in a report, and that report is saying what happened, what got damaged, when, so on, and then that is done through the company. So the second assistant is basically paper and electronic distribution. So they're doing, they're sending out all the schedules, they're sending out scripts, they're sending out just everything, email to the entire crew so that they have an electronic version of all of the stuff that we're needing for the next day or so on. Plus, they're also doing the hard copies of sending stuff to set, photocopying all the time of scripts and schedules and sending them out to set, so that everybody has electronic version and a hard copy version of all of their paperwork. They also take care of making crew lists, cast lists, which is putting everything all together on the hard copy, and then also electronic and sending them out to set. Filing, ordering office supplies, answering all the phone calls that are coming in if they can, ordering walkies. Since we have so much happening for second assistants, we have two people doing it because it is such a large job. It's a very crazy hub of information flying around there. So we're always trying to listen in on what everybody else is doing to see if they need help, because it is usually quite active. The office PA is normally on our show. It's kind of all about food. It's making sure everybody in the office has a lunch. We usually do a buffet lunch every day. So they're taking care of ordering that, setting it up, and then cleaning up after that. They also take care of what's known as craft service, and that is snacks and water and stuff in between lunches, lunch and breakfast, so that people be able to just keep working at their desk and have a snack or have coffee, juice, water, all those kind of things. So they keep track of all of that stuff and keep that going and keep the kitchens all stocked up so that people can just constantly keep working at their desks, all departments. Because in the production office, in our production office, there's roughly 40 to 50 people working, and everybody gets hungry at different times. So that's why we have craft service going on. They're also taking care of something called a welcome pack, and that's putting together a binder together for actors and directors coming in with their script and schedules, and then a list of things to do in Vancouver. If they're unfamiliar with Vancouver, it's nice to have something where you can just open it up, take a little look, see where to find a good pasta restaurant or so forth. So it's a little pack they do for everybody that comes up that is not used to Vancouver, that hasn't been here before. They also take care of mail and a whole bunch of other little things as well. So there's lots of things that person is constantly doing. As I said, everybody running around, always focused on their job, but always busy, always busy. The producer's assistant is the last one we sort of have in our office, and they're, of course, as the name suggests, they're taking care of the producer, keeping that person, helping keep that person organized, taking messages, managing the phone calls that are coming in for the producer, because of course the producer is the top of the production office, and they have lots of information flying in and out of their desk and office all the time. So they need someone to help them kind of keep it all together, keep it organized and well running, so then they can focus on the bigger picture. They take care of safety and accident reporting and such like that. So I know I'm running out of time. So what I wanted to talk about was, the best skills for the job for getting into the production office. Time management is very critical. Organizational skills, very critical, because you're always trying to keep everything moving and everything's got a priority. So do this before this because that's got more priority and needs to be done first. Computer skills, multitasking, again, all things that you're going to need in the office, just helps everything keep going. Best personalities for the office, just being calm and positive. helpful, and be a team player. We're together in the office for 12, 13 hours a day, and we're very close quarters. So just calm, always helpful. Answer the phone and help them. They usually have a problem. So then you're there to help bring them down and to help them, fix their problem, help them with their problem. So the last kind of thing that I sort of was thinking about was how to break into the industry. And breaking into the production office is difficult because it's always one of the first things that opens. So you have to kind of be there right at the beginning. And if not, hopefully they're going to be looking for somebody that they haven't thought of. Maybe they need to bring in an extra director's assistant or producer's assistant or an extra second assistant. That's when you can jump in there. But the best places, of course, is the non-union jobs, which is the director and producer's assistants. They're non-union, so anybody can take those jobs. So again, that's one of the best places. You can then be in the office and be able to help people and see how the production office runs. And if you want to move up to an office PA or a second. Every other position in the production office is union when it is a bigger union show. If you can find non-union shows, you can jump in as an office assistant or a second assistant. I think that's about it, Darlene.
Wonderful. Lots of good information on what goes on in that office. I think there's a number of people on the cast side that often don't make their way into that office, and it's always interesting to see what actually goes on to make all of these productions run so smoothly. One of the things we're going to get to questions in a moment, Colin. One of the things I wanted to have you talk about, because I learned this morning that you got your start as a PA, and PAs are the entry-level position for most people onto film sets. Can you talk about your journey starting as a PA? What was that like for you, and how do people get into that and then be able to rise the way you did?
Sure, no problem. So I really started doing, I really started volunteering on student films, and I started gaining my resume that way, just volunteering, and on anything I could find in any position. And then when I started to have a bit of a resume, I started looking around for paying gigs, and I got a job as a location PA. It is a starting position, but you start to be able to see how the whole show starts to work. You're sort of pulled away from the main action in your back a little bit, but you can see what a grip does, and you can see what electric does, and what craft service does, and you get to see where you might like to go. I mean, I started doing production assistant jobs, location jobs, and you just keep looking for the next job. You just keep putting your resume out there, and someone says, hey, I need you to be a craft service assistant. Okay, no problem. Let's go do it. And you get to meet more people, see more things, and see where you want to go. Really, I want to be a props person. I don't want to be a craft service person anymore. And then you start asking them questions and go in that direction. Well, I moved from volunteering. I moved to location PA. Then I really moved to a grip. And I was a grip for a few years, and then I got pulled into the production office just by chance. And it just kind of took off from there. That's where I really thought that I had settled and found a home. I really like multitasking. So I just kind of stayed there. But being a grip on set helped me learn all of the equipment. And so now, being on the Flash and I rent equipment, I know what it looks like. I know how big it is. I know how long they might need it because I know what it is. And it just kind of helps you. So whatever job you get on set basically helps you to move into your department and it will help you. It'll just help you.
And the PA position is a very common entry level for a lot of people, isn't it? That's how they get their start.
It is. Almost everybody starts as a location PA because it's very hard to get anything higher because you have to, of course, have some experience. So you start as a PA and then you ask those questions. How do I become a grip? What do I need to do to become a grip? And then you keep throwing your resume wanting to be a grip. And then eventually you'll just get it. You just perseverance.
Perseverance. And Colin, because a lot of the people who have joined us today are looking to get into it, and because PA is a common entry level position, what would a PA be expected to do, a locations PA? And how does a locations PA differ from any other PA?
Well, there's two kinds of PAs. So there's the location PA and there's the office PA. And the office PA, of course, is in the office. They're both on bigger shows are DGC, union based. But in the office, you only generally have one, you might have two. On set, you have lots and lots and lots. If you go downtown Vancouver and you're locking up Vancouver, you could have 40 PAs. Well, only a few of them have to actually be DGC. After that, they can start hiring non-union PAs. They have to have a certain number per show, per type of show of unionized, and then they can hire non-union PAs. So you can much easier break into a location PA job than you can as an office PA.
Okay, great. Okay, moving along, let's go and see what our attendees are asking of you. Dila, I hope I pronounced that correctly, is asking, what's the difference between first assistant and first assistant director?
First assistant and first assistant director. Well, the main difference is the first assistant production coordinator is in the production office. The first assistant director is on set. So the first assistant coordinator in set on the office is working with phones and paperwork, and as I mentioned before, the one on set is basically running the set. The first assistant on set we hear from Seamus later, who is a first assistant, and he will definitely explain that, so I say stick around for it. But he or she makes up the schedules and keeps the set running all the time.
Okay, great. And Stella is asking, what hours do they start in a 13-hour day? So does the office PA, do you have much more set hours than on-set crew does?
Well, here's where it does get weird in the office. So one person will open the office and one person will close the office. So depending on what time the call time is, depends on what that day is going to look like. So if the call time on set is 7 a.m., then usually the office will open at 6:30, maybe 6, depending on the show, depending on the coordinator, how quickly they want to open that. And then someone will stay the entire time they're shooting and then close the office, because they don't have a closing procedure that they have to do. They have to send out call sheets to everyone so they know what their next day is going to look like. They have to make this thing called sides every day, which is mini scripts, so that everybody knows what the scenes are going to be and what's the dialogue in there for the day. So depending on the call time, depends on how long that day might be. If the call time is 4 p.m., somebody still has to open the office first thing in the morning, usually 7 a.m., but they will only go 10 or 12 hours. So they will finish at 7 p.m. But the closing person, which is usually the second assistant, will start at roughly 4 p.m. and go till 4 in the morning or 4:30 in the morning, because they want to be there after the show shuts down for the day. So depending on what call time is, depends on what you're doing. Now also depending on what you're doing in the office, also depends on what time you should be coming in. If you're a first assistant coordinator and you're working on equipment, you don't want to come in at 4 p.m. because the vendors have been open since 9 a.m. So you want to come in and work a regular sort of shift, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then you're covering those vendor hours.
Right, okay, good. Stella also says that as an observation that you remind her of Robert Downey Jr., both your mannerisms and your look. And is that the first time you've ever heard that?
It's the first time today I've heard that. I did get told that in a grocery store yesterday.
Oh, isn't that
Uh, but yeah, it does happen quite often. I do appreciate it. I always appreciate it.
wonderful?
Um,
Okay, and then we have a question from Katie. Perhaps I missed it, but is the production office physically on set or on location or somewhere else?
wow, there's so much information to be able to tell you. 15 minutes is not enough to tell you how a production office runs. There's so much going on. We generally have an office space. So if we're in a studio, they've got some stages where they're shooting in. Well, the office might be or should be right there. But then when they go on location, we stay at the studio. So we're always the same hub space.
Right,
They can go everywhere, but we're always in one place.
one location. Okay. And now we have, Dennis is asking, do you handle the renting of locations?
Doing the paperwork and such, no, that's all done by location department. We will then get a copy of all of that paperwork and we'll file it. And that's, again, sort of how all the departments intermingle. And we're keeping copies of all of this information in our files, but we don't take care of any of those rentals.
Okay, now Colin, we've got a bit of a time buffer in. We don't have our next panelist till 10:45, but I wanted to check in with you. We have quite a few questions. Are you okay to stick around and help answer the questions from our attendees?
Sure, I'll fill in time.
Great, okay. Andrew is asking, do you have any examples of other industries not related to film that colleagues have a background that have proven to be complementary to various roles in the production office? So if you're hiring in the production office, are there other roles that you go, yay, this person has done this, so let's bring them in, that may not be related to film?
Yeah, see, this is more information I wish I had more time for. I did have more notes on this kind of stuff, but yes, in the production office specifically, the best things are probably, well, I mean, you could do just about anything and it would help because you're always dealing with people, right? But service industries are great. And what else did I have in there? Service industries and office administration, of course. Computer skills, any computer jobs would be fabulous because there's always new programs coming up and are we using the best one? So those kind of things are the best, but sales and service, yeah, the top.
Great, okay. And Penny is asking, hi Penny, what was the most challenging problem you've had to solve?
Most challenging problem. I was working on a tiny little show in Victoria where they asked for a kiddie pool at, I think it was 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And so I had to try to source this out and try to find something. And they needed it for that day. Must have been a change. Somebody said, hey, you know, this would be great in there. So we helped out set deck department trying to find something, and one of my neighbors had a kiddie pool that we borrowed at 4 o'clock in the morning and brought it to set. But we get so many requests that you just never know. You just never know what you're going to get on the other end of the phone call.
Right. Well, I hope you stayed friends with that neighbor. And we have another question from Catherine. How long do you generally work on a feature film, and what, okay, I think you've covered off the hours that you would work, but how long? So what is the, like, is it a few weeks, a couple months? How long does a feature film generally require?
Well, feature film, of course, is the big ones, and they can shoot a long time. Stuff like Planet of the Apes that shot in Vancouver can go 8, 9, 10 months. They are the longest running shows other than television production. But they, again, depending on how quickly they're shooting per day and how big their script is and how much stunts they have and how many special effects they have, which slows your day down, will then make your schedule longer and longer. So there's no set time to it, but they are long.
Okay. Okay, we've got still got several questions here. Estella is asking, she's got kind of a couple of questions built in here. I am from California and have production experience, but only in radio. Is it possible to break into PA in non-union film if a person is not a Canadian resident or citizen? Is a special work or visa permit required for working in Canadian films, even if only volunteering? And are there any volunteer positions that do not require special work permits? I do not need to work for pay, but would love to have a chance to work even only if volunteer. And how do you find out about these positions? Lots of questions in that one, Colin. And I think the entire issue about permitting, I'm not sure if you can answer that, but I think you need to talk to a professional about that.
Sure, no problem. We have to do work permits for actors all the time. So anybody coming into Canada who's not a Canadian citizen has to do a work permit, go through immigration, this whole process. And that's general on our show. That's our production coordinator. Mm-hmm. She does all things people. So that's all of that paperwork needs to be done before you can come in and legally be paid.
Right. But that's for talent, correct?
That's for talent. That's for anybody. So anybody coming in to work needs immigration paperwork saying that they're in Canada to work and they're working for us and they're getting paid this much money and so on and so forth. There's a bunch of paperwork to go through there.
Now, and how many PAs would you bring in and do work permits for? Does that happen often in that position?
That doesn't happen.
No.
It doesn't happen. Just because there's so many people in Vancouver to work. So what immigration is that when you're going to bring an actor in, you have to prove to Canada, the Canadian government, basically, to say that you're bringing this actor in for a specific reason. They are an A-lister, and you can't duplicate what they can do on set with a Canadian actor. So if you're going to bring somebody in, it has to be somebody that they can't really get in Canada, or they've got other traits. So to bring in a location PA would be nearly impossible.
Right, understood. We've got a question from Sarah that we've already talked about, but Colin, just curious, we've been hearing a lot over the course of 2 days that breaking into the film industry can be quite difficult. Would you say that includes entry-level positions like PA? How difficult is it to become a PA on a production?
It's difficult. It's difficult. But of course, the more shows there are, the easier it is. Right. The more non-union shows are, the easier it is. When I was trying to do it, it was very difficult. There wasn't as many shows as there are now, so it is better. It's easier. Yeah, it's tough, but it's perseverance. Really, you just have to just keep putting your resume in front of productions, and just going for it all the time. Just going for it. Victoria, of course, gets a lot of non-union shows, and if you're there, then that's a good place to start breaking in.
And also something that you had mentioned that I think we have heard as a common thread through a lot of our panelists is many people start on independent film. So I'm not sure what city some of our attendees are from, but if you are looking to make a start, find your local independent film group. Probably have a page on Facebook at least, and that's a good place to start getting some practice, some knowledge, building a resume before you hit the larger production. So I always recommend people take a look there as well. And a question from Andrea. I'm coming from theater production. Any idea which role would translate best from technical director? Is it first AD perhaps?
Technical director.
In theater.
First AD, but of course you have to, with all of these jobs, you're going to have to come upwards. Right. So you're going to be starting, if you go after first AD, you're going to have to start as what's known as a TAD, a training assistant director. And that's the one at the bottom, but you're basically learning how to be an assistant director. And then you move up to a second or third, and then you move to a second, and then you move to a first. But all this time you're gaining more and more knowledge of how to become the next person up on that rung. And moving from a technical director, you could move into lighting, you could move into gripping, you could move anywhere, costumes and stuff, because you're seeing all of that stuff. I would find what is your interest. If your interest is assisting directing, is scheduling and running that set and helping work with actors right on set, well, then that's the way you should go. But if you're a little bit more inclined toward gear and like lighting, then you go that sort of route.
And Marley is asking, when I was doing research on how to become eligible for the BC DGC, and for people who don't know, that's the Directors Guild of Canada, permittee logbook program, I came across the term helper PA in the office as a way to gain hours to apply for the logbook program. Could you expand on how helper PAs are hired?
Helper PAs. So the DGC, of course, I'm IATSE. I'm IATSE 891, which is my union in the production office from the second assistant up to the coordinator. So office PA and office PA helper are under DGC. I'm not part of that union, so I don't know it as great. But what I do know is that you would basically, there's levels to the
We've lost you, Colin. Can you hear us? Let me see. I'm still showing you as live, but we have lost the connection. Let's give Colin just a moment. We're almost at the end of time in either case. However, we'll see if Colin can get back to us. Oh, hi, you're back. We lost you for a bit.
Oh, sorry. I guess my internet is unstable, it's telling me.
There you go. Okay, so sorry, so we missed that one. So helper PA.
Helper PA. Okay, so the DGC has multiple layers of membership. The top is being a member. Then there's the permittee, and then there's the permittee, the sort of helper gaining with the logbook. And as you get more and more hours as a permittee helper, you become a permittee, and then you get enough hours, you become a member. So there's not, as far as I know, but again, this is a really good question for the assistant directors or the location people, of course, where you would come on set as a permittee helper to gain those hours. And anybody can do that as long as you've talked to the DGC and you've gotten your permittee logbook.
Now, Dawn is asking, is the overall show budget, i.e. accumulation of all department budgets, managed by the production office or accounting, or who manages overall the budget?
Overall, the budget. Overall, the producer has the ultimate say on what's going on there. But of course, they're talking to whoever the executive company is. On our show, it's Warner Brothers, CW, and such, and they help the producer manage the budget, basically. Then coming down from that goes the production manager, and they're also helping manage the budget with accounting. We basically are not managing those budgets whatsoever, other than our production manager, who is above the production coordinator.
Okay. Okay, we're down to our last few moments here. Nigel is asking, if you were in grip or electric department in Atlanta, can you use our local 479 card to get jobs in Canada? And if so, what's the best route?
I have heard of people from Toronto being a different union number coming to Vancouver to work. But of course, that's in Canada.
Right.
So I think you're going to run into that immigration problem, where if you've got dual citizenship, then you could work either place. You would just have to tell our production office that you'd like to come up and work here, and they would go through their process, whatever that might be, of letting you come in to work.
Right.
But otherwise, if you're only a U.S. citizen, it's going to be very difficult to come across to Canada to do that.
Right. Okay. And Daniela is asking, if you need to take 2 weeks off in the middle of production for something like a wedding, is it okay to ask for time off, or should you just not work in the office until you have no commitments?
Sorry, that was work in the office?
Yeah.
Since there are only a few people within that office, and whatever you're doing in the office, you're that hub of that information generally, depending on how the office runs and how the production coordinator likes to run that. But if you took time off, then we have to either bring somebody else in to fill that position who won't have the background that you have, or we have to pick up the slack in between us, which again can be very difficult. But depending on your production coordinator, you would ask them and see what they think.
Ask them ahead of time before
Ask
you.
them ahead.
Yeah, gotcha. And I think our final question here, thanks for hanging in with us, Colin, is from Grace. Do you have a favorite project out of all the shows you've worked on, and why?
Oh my God, The Flash. The Flash
Yeah.
is my favorite. I think I'm
What,
wearing
what makes it what makes it your what makes it your favorite?
well, it's almost always the people, right? It's almost always the people. I love the production office. I love the people in the production office. I love my hierarchies. I love the production manager, the producer. Those are great. And the cast is wonderful. It's just a dream for them to come through the office. They say hi to everybody. We've had cast walk through the office with a guitar serenading people as they went through. It's just every day is just fun. It's been my favorite place to be. I've been there for 6 years, 6 seasons. I hope it just goes on forever because I don't want to leave. Just don't want to leave.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Colin, for giving all this time for our attendee to learn about what you do and how to get there. We have a big crowd joining us today, and I know we're all appreciative of your information and your time and your obvious passion for what you do. So we're going to let you go to enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you once again from all of us at the Film Commission.
Good. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Colin. Bye.